Shiv S Saywack was a semi-retired teacher, art, design, history of art were the subject he taught in a sixth form college. Previously, he was a graphic designer. He studied information graphics at Harrow School of Art, now the University of Westminster, and worked as a designer until 1999 when he changed career and became a lecturer. His third career is that of a writer, and he's written several children's middle grade novels upon retiring from teaching. His interests vary between writing and making art, as well as playing guitar semi-well and the piano pretty badly. He
Yep.
was born in Guyana and came to Britain in 1962 when his parents moved to London to live permanently. He's lived in London ever since, was educated there at both school and university level, and worked mainly in central London as a designer. While he writes mainly for children, his new project is aimed at an adult market and is a series of detective novels set in 1950s London. Shiv S Saywack's books have won several awards. Mary Finch and the Thief won gold at the 2022 Wishingshelf Award, as well as gold for the Entrada Incipere Award 2022. Inglestone Manor also won gold 2022 for the Entrada Incipere Award. And on today's episode of Auto Interview, it's my utmost pleasure to have on the show today award-winning Shiv Saywack. Welcome on the show, Shiv.
Thank you. It's very nice to be here. Really, very nice. Thank you for having me here as well.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to have you on the show as well. I'm excited. So, Shiv, could you tell us about your series book, Mary Finch Mysteries? How does this book come about? What inspired you to write Mary Finch Mysteries?
Um, a lot of things really came together about 3 or 4 years ago when I first started to
Mm,
think about writing a book. And those things really conspired to make things happen. Previously, I've been writing a lot of short stories, and I wanted to try my hand at something longer, something like a
mm,
novel. And since I love his history, especially that period between, I don't know, the end of the Victorian Britain era and perhaps up
mm,
to 1960, I thought I'd write a book and set it at one of those periods, one of those times. I also like Sherlock Holmes and the stories of Sherlock Holmes. And with that in mind, I decided I was going to plot the Mary Finch mystery. At the time, I was doing a course in how to plot a novel, and they wanted me to plot something. So I was sort of thinking, oh, what do I do now? And I thought, right, okay, I've got this idea for a novel, a vague idea for a novel.
mm,
Let's see if I can plot it. I wanted the book to be set in the world of Sherlock Holmes because, like I said, I like Sherlock Holmes, and I wanted a girl protagonist, especially. I
wow.
wanted somebody who was clever, but not so clever. Not Sherlock Holmes clever. That's a bit too clever. I wanted somebody um, who could make mistakes, who could get things wrong,
Mm,
but is sort of determined. Someone a reader could sympathize with, who wasn't perfect. It had to be the case that she wasn't perfect. She makes mistakes. So along came 13-year-old Mary Finch, a lowly maid in a very rich household, an orphan. She's
mm,
wrongly accused of a crime and sets out to clear her name. I like
oh,
the idea of London as a background, especially because I've grown up in London all my time, or most of my life I've been in London, so I know London quite well, and it gave me an opportunity to sort of let her loose in the streets of London, if you know what I mean.
mm,
So she wanders from Baker Street, where part of the story begins, all across to the East End of London,
wow.
to Wapping, to Whitechapel, to Rotherhithe. Back in the days, back in the 1890s, when this book is set, they weren't very nice places. You wouldn't go there by choice, and but she has to go there. So she does, and this, of course, she does it in order to clear her name, and on the way has plenty of adventures. So that's the book really. So it's not just about her clearing her name,
Wow.
becoming becoming more grown up as she does so as well, and meeting some interesting people along the way, of course.
Wow. Well, that's quite amazing to know, really. And I love the motivation to this. I love the start of Mary Finch Mystery. Sounds very intriguing to me. So thank you
Yeah,
for sharing.
it's okay.
Now, Shiv, I also see that you have another book titled Inglestone Manor.
Yeah.
which won the Gold Award 2020. And of course, I love to say congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Now, for readers who haven't read Inglestone Manor yet, and of course, without giving much information away, could we have a sneak of what we'd expect picking up Inglestone Manor?
Yeah. Um, as I said, I really like history and I like his books about books that are set in a period of time, especially in
Mm,
period. And when I think about what Inglestone Manor is just a good old-fashioned children's book. It doesn't set out to tell any moral tales, or it's just a good old-fashioned story.
mm,
And in the book, three children are placed in an unfamiliar situation. The book is set in 1944, towards the end
wow,
of the Second World War, and they
wow,
find themselves being evacuated from London, where they live, to this place, Inglestone, which is somewhere. It's not specified, but it's just somewhere in the country, outside
mm,
somewhere. And on there, they meet a lot of people. They meet some good people, and meet some really bad people, and lots of people in between. And they come across in this old ruined manor, Inglestone Manor. They come across this strange boy who they meet there, and they also come across this prospect that somewhere in this manor there may be treasure, maybe some sort of
absolutely.
something valuable. So they
Yeah.
come. The eldest of the kids is 14 years old. The youngest is 8, and the other one, I suppose, is about 10 or 11. So they really are children, and they really are, and they're really having that trying to find this treasure, and we have the strange boy mixed up with it and all that sort of thing. The ending, without giving anything away, it's quite bittersweet.
Mm,
It's a case of that. We don't all get what we want in our life. Things happen, and we have to accept the consequences of what happens, really. And along with my other book, the one I've written about Padita the Witch, it's probably one of my favorite books. It's ones I like writing, if you know what I mean. I mean, I like writing all my books, of course, but I especially like writing Inglestone Manor. It just
mm.
reminds me of a good old-fashioned story. That's all it's meant to be, nothing else.
Wow, that's quite amazing to know, really. I particularly love the sound of your book. It sounds like something I love to pick up eventually. And yeah, I love the sound of it. So thank you for sharing. Yeah. So, Shiv, could you tell us a bit about your other book? And I see that you have quite a huge number of work over there and with glowing, amazing reviews. Could you tell us a bit about Padita the Witch and the Toy Shop?
It's a
And
book
again,
with
if you
a
have a copy of it there, which I love you to show to
yeah.
the camera, if you have a copy there.
Can you see that?
Beautiful cover, yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Beautiful.
a it's a chapter book, so it's not very big. So
Yeah, it's
it's a
beautiful.
chapter book really, and it's gone through lots of transformation in the writing. When
Mm,
I started writing it ended up at 60,000 words, which was far too long. But I was experimenting with things and all that. As you do, you try things out, you see what works, what doesn't work. And I knew it was too long at the time. And over time, it got whittled down to 40,000 words, to 30,000 words.
mm,
And from 60,000 words, it ended up where it should have been in the first place, which is 15,000 words. So it's quite a major drop, really. But that's what editing is about, and that's what you do, really. Such as the trials of being an author, you edit, you edit, you edit.
yeah.
Um, Persia is essentially a fairy story in a Germanic sense. It's a German fairy story. It's a nice story, but it's not, but it's got its several twists and it's got its turns and it's got its heartbreaks and that sort of thing.
Mm,
It's not a fairy story in the traditional sense. It's a book where not everyone who's meant to be good is good, and everyone who's meant to be bad is bad. It's characters change in the book. It's got lots of twists in the understanding of it as well. So it's a chapter book for children about eight and above.
wow.
Um, the book begins with Perdita making a shocking discovery about a recently opened toy shop that is far from, that she considers is the best toy shop in the world. It's like kids, they see a toy shop and think, especially a good toy shop, and think this is going to be the best toy shop in the world. But after a while, she discovers this is a strange toy shop. Something strange is happening here. I won't tell you what it is because I think you have to read the book like that. I don't want to put too much away. even though it's got a moral compass to it, it's not really meant to be a moral tale. It's just meant to be like, all the books I tend to write, I hope are just good stories, and
Mm,
this is just a good story. But if it's got a moral tale to it, it's that you should never judge people until you know all the facts.
yeah,
People are innocent until proven guilty, sort of thing.
yeah,
Don't judge a book by its cover, sort of thing as well. But it's always just meant to be a nice story about a little girl, a witch, in a toy shop, and just changing the meaning of the characters around. So, is the witch good or is the witch bad? It's a toy shop owner. Is that toy shop that good or bad? You know, Perdita's the only one who's constant. She is what she is in the book. But and the rest are just other people. So that
wow.
is like I said, I enjoyed writing the book. I should really thank lots of people for that book simply because they persevered to read a very, very, very long copy of it, and gave me feedback for it. And then I proceeded to chop the book down to, a quarter of the size. So, I like, they know who they are. I'd like to thank them very much for it.
Yeah, that's really amazing, really. It's awesome. Because while I checked through sample reviews of it on Amazon, I was like,
Mm,
I particularly love this, and I can really see to it winning such kind of award. So yeah, that's quite
yeah,
amazing to know.
yeah. I enjoyed writing the book anyway, put it that way.
Yeah.
Um,
Now, Shiv, I've always been fascinated about how authors, especially novelists like yourself, craft long sentences and brings words together in a way that it eventually makes a great novel. These always leave me thinking about how exactly they got their ideas and inspiration. Now, as far as writing is concerned, I would also love to ask you, how do you get your inspiration and ideas? Where did they come from?
um, yeah, it's a good question. One of the best advice I've ever received about writing, or rather, three of the best advice I've ever received about writing,
Yeah.
is to read, 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 write, 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 and
Mm,
then be curious, even so. Like most authors, I'm sure I get inspired to write things, stories, scenes, some such, from what I see around me,
mm,
what I've read for that matter, or things that I'm familiar with, things that I know about. But I honestly don't think waiting for inspiration to strike you is a good
mm,
idea for a writer. You have to, you can wait, you can wait an awful long time to be inspired about something, to be honest. And what
yeah.
you have to do is go out there and make it happen.
Mm,
When inspiration does come, it's very nice indeed. It's lovely. But mostly you have to be proactive. You have to sort of get out there, write something, see what it looks like,
mm,
develop it, all those sort of things. Things that I find useful for me anyway is that
yeah.
I like visiting art galleries. I like imagining the stories behind some of the paintings I've seen. Some of them I know
Mm,
they're but the ones I don't know, I like imagining. Okay, well, how did that scene, whatever I'm looking at, get set up? And that I find that works for me. Um,
mm,
so I think if you read a lot and generally see things, then you begin the process of writing.
yeah.
Writing, to be honest, I think is a process anyway. I think you mentioned long sentences just a few minutes ago.
Mm,
Um, I know there's a tendency in writing nowadays to write very short, sharp ones, and I won't argue against that. It really is, it's a good thing to do.
yeah.
But there's something hugely satisfying, I think, anyway, about a beautiful long sentence. I don't know if you've ever read the works of Virginia Woolf or not. Um,
Oh,
she's
I
a
haven't.
she's an English writer who she's wrote in the 1900s, 1910s, 1920s, 1930s, that sort
Wow.
of thing. One of a book called To the Lighthouse is probably is my personal favorite of her books anyway. But if
Oh.
you see how long sentences are done, how they're done beautifully, you know, read her work.
Wow.
If I could write like her,
Oh.
I'd be really, that'd be great, you know.
Wow.
And I think I think you need to find some good authors to read as well
Yeah.
because they're inspirational, aren't they? I mean,
Yeah.
why not? So
Yeah.
yeah, that's how I do it. I tend to just I try to make things happen. Let's put it that way. They don't
Mm,
succeed, but I try anyway. Um,
yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I particularly love the fact that you said we should, read some great authors because
yeah,
through that you get to learn from them as well.
yeah.
So yeah, that's such an amazing thing to add to it too. So curious to know if you experienced any challenges while writing your books, because you've had quite a lot of them. If there is any, could you share with us what challenge it is and how
Mm,
you ultimately overcame it? Also, how do you handle criticism, especially negative criticism as a writer?
yeah. Um, Challenges. Ooh, I think every book I've written, that presents a challenge of some sort. I'm not. I think somebody once said, that you get two types of writers. Those who plan things out to the nth degree, and those like me who don't really
Doesn't
plan.
plan. Yeah.
Um, normally when I write a book or anything, I have a sense of how it begins, and I usually have a good sense of how it will end, and a reasonable idea of what happens in between. But they're just ideas.
Mm,
I always struggle with the first part of writing the book. I feel I have to get it perfect, and I know that's wrong. I deep down inside, I know within me I should not spend so much time trying to get the first bit perfect because
mm,
I will come back to it. You always do. You always come back to the beginning and you always try it again. And I think that's one of the big challenges to me. All books are made in the editing in the end. You sort of you write a book, whatever how many words, and then you edit it bits because that's what you do. That's the only way of making a good book out of it.
mm,
Um, I think it's something that any aspiring writer should be aware of that the first draft is not going to be brilliant.
yeah.
It'll be what it is. And editing is a long, laborious, but a very necessary process
Yeah.
to get the best novel. It's Stephen King, the author, who says that you kill your babies, but by that he means that you write this wonderful scene which you're totally in love with because it is a wonderful scene. You've written it really well.
Mm,
It doesn't fit. It doesn't work with the novel, so you have to get rid of it. So you deep down you want to keep it, but you also know that as nice as it is, you have to kill it. You have to get rid of it. You have to change it. And I think
absolutely.
that's sort things. And um, one of the things I think most authors go through, certainly me, at sometimes during writing, is that you do pause and you do wonder,
Mm,
is what I'm doing, this book I'm writing, is it good enough? Is
mm,
it why am I writing it? Is anybody going to like it? More to the point,
yeah.
it's a natural thing, you're wondering if you're wasting your time, really. At times like these, I sort of need to remind myself that in the end, I'm writing for myself. I'm not writing for anybody else to begin with. I'm not writing for an audience. I'm writing for myself. I like writing because I like writing, and
Mm,
so it gives me enjoyment. And
mm,
I hope that whoever reads the book will get my sense of enjoyment out of it. They might do, they might not do. So I think one of the ways you do things is to persevere as much as possible.
mm,
Writing is about perseverance. In the end, books aren't easy things to write,
yeah.
physically or psychologically. I think they take a lot out of you. As far as negative criticism is concerned, what can we say really? It's one of those things. You get it. Um, you, you 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 get good criticism. You get all sorts of criticism, really. So how do you deal with it? I think you deal with it by thinking that actually you're not going to please everybody. You're writing a book. It's a nice book and that sort of thing. So you think, but you're
Yeah.
never going to please everybody. There's always going to be somebody who doesn't like it, which is
Yeah.
natural. There's lots of books I've read which I don't like. It's just what it is. So
Yeah.
I tend to deal with it by thinking that, well, it's if somebody likes it, great, thank you, well done, pretty brilliant. If you don't like it, I'm sorry, I tried my best.
I'm
So
sorry, I tried my best.
Uh,
Yeah,
which is
that's actually amazing because even the best of writers, often add negative criticism. So it's just
yeah,
about the audience. If you love it,
it is.
fine. And if you do not love it, it's fine. So
Yeah,
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 I love your take on that.
yeah.
It's quite
I,
amazing to know.
yeah. I think the other thing, is that I've seen some of my fellow authors. I've read the things on Amazon that the people have left their criticism about it.
Yeah.
And what annoys me most of all, I think, is if they get a negative criticism, the person who's left it hasn't explained why they dislike it. They just say,
Mm,
"I dislike the book," or I could never finish the book," or whatever they say anyway.
mm,
And it would be so useful if they just explain just put down a sentence saying, "I didn't like it because," and then explain what that because was. Because
mm.
it helps you. I think it helps the author.
Absolutely, yeah.
And also, the author has got a chance then to respond to it, to say, whether it's internally or externally, but to say to him, actually, I don't agree with you. I think I thought this and that. So I think there's a little bit of responsibility perhaps on the reader to just to say something. Sometimes
Yeah.
I can understand why you say it, of course, yeah. But
Yeah, that's quite amazing to know, really. And I love your take on that. Sounds a bit educative to me. So thank you for sharing.
that's right.
Yeah. Now, Shiv, apart from the books we've mentioned so far, do you have any other works you've authored or maybe currently working on?
I've, my new books, you mean? There's quite a yeah. I've sort of I've sort of got several books. I tend to write in batches, so I've got quite a lot of things happening
Wow.
all go really. So the things I've written at the moment that I've got this detective book, which I think you mentioned right at the beginning of the thing, which is set in 1950s London, and because like I said, I like London, I like the history part of it,
Mm,
and it is it's a female protagonist. It's
wow.
written in sort of a noir, film noir feel, sort of quite dark. It's an adult book. Isn't a book for for the children's book that I'm writing really. So it's very much an adult audience on the book,
Wow.
and it's really something I'm trying to get published traditionally rather than do it self-published. So I'm
Mm,
sort of seeking some sort of representation with it at the moment. I've written three of them only because I started off by writing one, and I thought I liked it. So what would the second book look like? And so
mm.
curiosity made me write the second book. And then
Yeah.
having written the second book, I thought, oh, I've got an idea for the third book. So I've got these three books written, which I'm like I said, I'm trying to work out for. And I've also got two other sort of children's book, which I'm sort of trying to figure out what to do with really.
Mm,
They are fantasy books. One is called The Witch in the Stone, which I won't explain because I'm not quite sure about it in my head myself, to be honest. And
mm.
the other one's called The House on Magpie Lane, and they're both fantasy books. They've got a fantasy element. If you've read any of Neil Gaiman's work, the author,
Yeah, gay man. Yeah.
yeah, it's in that genre, that style of his sort of thing, like that, really.
Mm,
So I'm trying to really try and get those books going anyway, and see what happens with them.
wow.
But I just have to keep writing. I mean, it's simple as that, and so I just write what I can.
Wow. That's
Okay,
lovely. That's lovely to know. Great to know.
that's fine.
Yeah. Now, Shiv, could you tell us what publishing is like for a published author like yourself? Also, are there any challenges you've encountered ever since you got published?
I think I'm a self-published author, apart from Inglestone Manor, which has been published by a company.
Wow.
But I think for the self-published author, the independent author, probably marketing is the biggest challenge we
Hmm.
face, really. I mean, writing a book is big enough, but marketing is a huge problem. I think all
Yeah.
all self-published authors will tell you that.
Yeah.
We don't have the same resources to spend on advertising our books as the big publishers do. They don't have the same money to splash around. We're trying to balance our writing around doing the marketing and getting our books noticed in the wider world.
Yeah.
It's a difficult balance at times. I think it's getting better, with challenges like yours, Peter, with the channels that you put out where writers can actually get their books noticed a bit more. It is great opportunities and, it
Mm.
provides opportunities for us.
Yeah.
I think the only easy solution for the self-published author is a case of persevering and trying to sell yourself and your book as best you can. Myself, I'm not a great one for putting myself out there, and that sort of thing. And I need to be better at that in the future. I know that deep down in me, I need to sort of do that really.
Mm.
So I think, you need to sort of try a lot harder really. Um, so I couldn't remember what the second part of the question was.
Yeah, are there any challenges you've encountered ever since you got published?
Apart from those ones, yeah. I think it's just mainly marketing and trying to get the marketing worked out really, and trying to get everybody on board with your vision of your book, that sort of thing, really. I
Yeah.
think it is one of the harder part of the writing process, which I think most authors don't take on board when they're writing, because let's face it, we all want to write, really. We don't want to do the marketing, that's something else we'd like to leave to other people. Unfortunately, we can't. Not like
Mm.
a published author. So you have to sort of you have to take it on board. You have to do the best with it, really. It's
Yeah,
something
I
it's
can.
another skill to learn.
Yeah, I can relate to that really. Marketing is one of those greatest things that most authors struggle with, you know. The writing, it might be a bit fair, but the
Yeah,
marketing is the hardest part. And that's where the huge work is, you know. And
yeah,
that's actually part of the major sources of a book is marketing. If a
yeah,
book is gonna make so many copies, have so many sales, be well known, then a lot has to be imposed, a lot has to be done in the
yeah,
aspect of marketing. So yeah, it's a
yeah.
lot of work involved in
It
it,
is.
and it's a bit
It is.
hard,
Yeah,
as you said.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think some authors are very good at it, and some like me are not that good at it. I definitely need to get better.
yeah. Now, is there anything you would love to share with the viewers about your books that we did not mention in this interview, and you'd love the viewers to know? Also,
Um,
as a published author, what sort of advice do you offer for other writers who are still struggling with
yeah.
publishing a book?
Um, as far as my books are concerned, they're all available through Amazon if people wants to buy them. You just need to type my name in, and I'm sure they'll come up. I've recently put the Mary Finch series on Ingram Sparks, the American distributor. So
Mm,
they're doing it there. Um, during the past year, during the last half of that, during last year, I'm trying to get an audio version of Padita the Witch and the Toy Shop
wow.
done. It's complete. I just need to figure out what to do with it now that I've got, now that I've got the files, and how to get it onto the various platforms, really.
Audible. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'll work that out in the end anyway. Um, Published authors, I think for other authors, the best piece of advice I can offer you really is to believe in yourself. I think it's really important because it's very easy to become disillusioned as a writer.
Mm,
Writing a book of 70,000 words is not an easy thing. Let's face it. It's going to be. It's never going to be.
yeah.
And you take it on a difficult task, even before you even start. So
Yeah.
I think you understand that to begin with, there will be anxious times in the writing, times when you feel disillusioned, and
Yeah.
times when you'll be successful as you go along. Writing is a process, and I think you really do need to enjoy the process. It's
Mm,
hard being a writer, but you really need to keep going. And good
absolutely.
and good writing comes from practice. The more you practice, the better you write, and that
Yeah.
that includes reading as well. I
Mm,
think then having written your book, make sure you've edited it as best you can. You need to be judicious with your editing. It's not something to be afraid of. It's something to welcome really, because
yeah.
you will produce hopefully a good book out of it. That's the whole thing anyway. But do never ask your mum, your dad, your sister, your brother. or your best friend to read and comment on your books. Don't rush. You need someone who's not afraid to say
Yeah.
bad things. You need someone who will happily criticize you in a good
Not your mother.
no, no, she'll tell you it's wonderful. It's the best thing you've ever done. So you don't want that.
That's one thing about family. They always, inspire you, even though what you did, it might not be so well great. You're like, yeah, it looks amazing. I love it. Oh my goodness. That's my boy. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I know.
And you
It's
never
wonderful.
know that there's an error somewhere hiding, but your mom
Yeah,
couldn't cite it. But
yeah, yeah,
she was so excited that this is what my
yeah,
son is doing. So I'm
yeah,
proud of him.
yeah. Exactly. I think that's good. I think the the other things I picked up from other authors, for instance. I mean, I think it's Hemingway, the writer Hemingway, who says that the first draft of a novel is not very good, except he
Yeah.
didn't use the word not very good. He used another expletive, which I won't
Yeah.
mention on your
Mm,
channel here,
yeah.
and that's right, of course. It's not meant to be. The
Yeah.
first draft is exactly what it is. It's the first draft, and it's back to Neil Gaiman, who says the idea of the second draft is to make it look like you knew you're doing all along, that when you wrote that
Mm,
first draft, you knew, and so on. I think
mm,
editing is where novels are made. You have to love editing.
yeah.
Um, as for publishing, like I said, we can go back to that. It's really a can of worms. As they say, do you self-publish? Do you get an agent? Some self-published authors do quite well. Some agented audience don't. Do your research before you make your decision. I'd advise you to do it. But if you go the agent route, don't be disappointed if your novel is rejected. Um, it'll happen. Agents in the end, agents are business people. If they make the decisions on whether they think they can sell your book, not whether it's a good book or not, but whether
Mm,
they can sell it. And if they think they can't sell it, then they reject you. You
mm,
need to take comfort in people like J.K. Rowling and all those other authors who've been rejected countless times.
absolutely.
And look what they and look what they do now.
Yeah.
So don't lose hope. Keep
Yeah.
going. Try whichever way you decide to go. Don't lose hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for your advice. And I'm hopeful that viewers, including myself, would love to utilize it. So, Shiv, in case we have some viewers who are currently watching this interview and would like to get a copy of your books, on what platform are they available on for purchase?
They're all available on Amazon. Um, so you should be able to just type in the title of the book or my name, and all the books will come up. There's sort of whoops. Stop that. There's sort of a Mary Finch novel, which is that one there,
The first
and
one
then
to
there's three more books in the series of the Mary Finch novels, really. So
Oh,
those things there, and
wow.
then there's Perdita, and there's Inglestone Manor, which I don't have a copy here at the moment,
Oh,
and there's another chapter book as well. So there's about 7 books available, and it's all
wow.
available on Amazon. Which hopefully you're able to find if you look for it.
Wow. And I left a link in the description part of this interview where interested viewers can get a copy of Shiv Saywack's books directly on Amazon and another platform. So thank you so much, Shiv,
My
for
pleasure.
accepting the invitation to be featured on P English Literature. It's awesome having this conversation with you.
Thank you. It's really good. Thank you very much. I enjoyed it very much.
Yeah, it's my pleasure as well. So amazing to have you on the show.